Hola a todos, soy Pamela de Asian Boss. Ya pasó un año desde la muerte de George Floyd, la cual dio paso a las protestas Black Lives Matter en todo el mundo, incluido Japón, donde miles protestaron en las calles de Tokio, con la esperanza de abordar la discriminación racial que se vive en este país. ¿Pero esto provocó algún cambio? El día de hoy entrevistaremos a un grupo de personas de raza negra para contestar esta pregunta.
Thank you very much for joining our interview today.
Thank you for having me.
So just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? So where are you from and how long have you been in Japan?
So I'm from Uganda and I've been in Japan for a little over 10 years.
My name is Al Alvarez. I've been in Japan 6 years, almost 7. Originally, I'm from New York.
So I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland in the USA, and I've been in Japan since 2017.
I'm originally from New York State, Rockland County, and I've been in Japan for about 11 years.
My name is Ranique, and I have been in Japan since July of 2018. So this year makes 3 years since I've been here, and I'm from Spanish Town in Jamaica.
I am from Brunswick, Georgia, that is down south in America. And I've been in Japan about 8 years. My first time here was in 2010.
So my name is Katia and I'm from France, originally from the French West Indies. And I've been here in Japan for 10 years now.
Why did you decide to, live in Japan?
I was always interested in coming here, so I wanted to see what it was like, and I was also interested in learning the language and the culture. I guess to go back to where it first started, it was mostly me seeing like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z growing up. But at the time it was always in English, so I never knew it came from Japan until I saw like the credits, and I was just like, what's in Akira Toriyama? So I had to like look it up, and then it was like, oh, it's Japan.
The military sent me to Japan, and I liked it, and I thought, wow, it's really interesting and different here, so I decided to stay.
Okay, so you came with the U.S.
With the Marines.
Oh,
I was a Marine.
wow. Wow, so what did you like about Japan that you decided to stay?
What's not to like? I like the food. I like the music. I like the entertainment. I like that people give me my space. I like the women, but I'm married now. So ladies, I'm off the market.
Prior to coming to Japan, did you have any concerns of how it is like being black in Japan?
I had a few concerns, like just about maybe finding products, because I heard a lot about like skin whitening in a lot of the creams and things like that, and maybe a lot of talk about how Japanese people, maybe Asian in general, are maybe look down on people with darker skin. And so I was a little concerned about that, but looking at the few videos at the time that were on YouTube about being black in Japan, it kind of did reassure me that like maybe everything isn't going to be so bad, but at the same time I had to think to myself, well, I have to experience this for myself.
And I knew coming to Japan that it was mostly like a homogenous country, that I wouldn't see very many people who looked like me, and I think as a black person that might be concerning anywhere you go. You just worry how you might be treated, how people might perceive you. But I wasn't really afraid of violence or anything like that. At the most, I was expecting stares and maybe some comments, and my first time I came, that's pretty much what I got, yeah.
I thought, living in a major city in Japan like Tokyo, that's considered to be so internationalized, I thought there would be many problems. But I was sent to the countryside. What shocked me the most was that many people in the countryside were actually unaware of the existence of, different people. Many times I would get questions about the color of my skin. Is it that I have been burnt by the sun? Is it that I was born like this? Am I dirty? Or, can I be washed off? I'm like a monkey. I get all of these sorts of comments, especially from the kids and even older people. So it was really, it made me really introspect and, realize that, not everyone in the world is aware of the existence of different peoples and of the challenges that, people are facing.
Did you participate in the Black Lives Matter protest last year in Japan? And how do you think the Japanese perceive that, and how has it, changed Japan at all?
I participated in the one last year. I walked it. I feel like it was more on a global scale this time because there was a Black Lives Matter protest a few years ago prior that a lot of people don't remember. In my work now, I actually get a lot of people like kind of consulting me saying, hey, is this appropriate? Like, you know, like, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for asking first, because there's some stuff that y'all write that is not appropriate. But yeah.
I mean, Japanese people usually don't talk about politics. It's kind of a big taboo. So even between your friends, you don't speak about politics. So when you have a demonstration, people just don't understand what's going on. And I think a lot of Japanese people, they don't know what's happened and why there is this kind of demonstration. So education would be better, maybe, I think, first.
With this kind of thing for political change, it's going to be uncomfortable. You know, no one's going to be comfortable. So I just think people are uncomfortable, but I think that it was necessary. And I think that I'm glad a lot of people got to see.
Why do you think they were uncomfortable about it?
Well, I mean, you live in a place, it's a very homogenous country, you know, there's a lot of like pure blood Japanese people out here, mainly Japanese bloodlines, and then you take a completely different element and you put that in, and then now these people are saying, we want equal rights. And you're like, well, who are you? Like, this is like my home. So I understand that, you know, I understand that attitude, I understand that mindset, but I think it's important to observe just other people's space and other people's feelings.
I was actually one of the main organizers for the Black Lives Matter march here in Shibuya last year, and I think it was perceived mostly positively. We got a lot of support, not only from foreigners living here in Japan, but also many Japanese people as well. I would say a little less than half of the people who actually attended the march were Japanese themselves, and there were 3,500 people.
Do you think most was supportive, or do you also encounter people who are more like indifferent or who are just like kind of against the protest in a sense?
I think there are a lot of people who are indifferent. I think there are a lot of people who probably just look at racism and say that it's not really their problem, that they're not racist, and probably think that, you know, Japan is not racist, this is a foreign problem, that there's no racism here, so they don't really have to pay attention to it.
So what are some of the stereotypes that Japanese people have towards Black people in Japan? And where do you think those stereotypes came from?
So that's a good question. So I think a lot of Western media, maybe Japanese people see Black people as like scary, or like especially Black men, and maybe Black women are maybe aggressive or just too bold or too expressive, maybe.
And they think that you are good at sports, like running specifically.
Running specifically?
Yes. I don't know, but yeah, I don't play basketball, like, surprisingly, okay, but I do like hip hop, but I can't rap, so they shouldn't think that, like, oh, you can rap, freestyle for me. Like, no, that's not how it works.
I taught English for 2 years, and the textbooks that I use are just grossly, discriminatory. The images that you see of Black people will never be of Black people achieving anything. It's always, poor kids running around, not having enough food. It's always, Black people, the negative events or negative circumstances within Black people find themselves. And I think, for one, the education system needs to be reformed to ensure that, Japanese kids can see a positive image of Blacks.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced based on the color of your skin?
Getting jobs here can be quite hard because it's always like, you're known from a native English-speaking country, and blah, blah, Africa, da, and I'm like, we are still people, it doesn't matter.
You have the image of foreigner here in Japan. So for English teacher, they expect like someone from the US to be like white guy or thing like this. Actually, people don't really know about outside world. So for them, it's always super simple. If you do this, if you work in this industry, you must be from this country, like work in IT. Uh-huh. So a lot of time people think like I'm Indian.
Well, this is a stereotype in America too, like around the world, that Black women in particular are very sexual creatures, and that
we just like are okay with having sex like anywhere and everywhere, I guess. I don't know if it comes from porn, but I've been followed and like, you know, caressed on the streets to, you know, follow somebody to a hotel or like things like that. Or, you know, they'll just maybe walk up and say, hey, you know, oh, well, black girls are into this, right? Like, you just want to go quickie over there? And I'm like, what? No.
In Japan?
In Japan.
How did you feel about it?
Well, of course, it makes you feel dirty. Like, like you're just like, I'm leaving from the grocery store. Why would I do, like, no, go away. And, you know, it's really scary in Japan, especially hearing about how the Japanese police don't really do anything when it comes to stalkers for women, so it's pretty frightening.
You know, I've known people who have been denied housing because they're black, and they're told specifically it's because they are black. I've known people who have been denied bank accounts because they're black, and oftentimes they get compared to, well, those Africans came in 2 years ago and they didn't pay back their debts. And even if they say something like, well, I'm an American, it doesn't matter. They see your skin first.
And I've had a child actually, you know, scream and run away from me. I mean, it happens to different people here, but, you know, I was just startled. You know, it was an older child. The child was probably 13, 14. And I was standing there and the child just screamed and ran. And I was like, you know, I'm just existing. I'm not doing anything. You know, I'm not committing a crime. I'm simply existing as a black person. You know, and no one chooses their skin color. But to be judged, you know, or like, you know, discriminated for that, you know, kind of makes you feel very, very sad.
Have you experienced any discrimination in Japan based on your color of the skin?
No. If I have, I probably didn't notice it. Like I said, it's like really passive. So I guess the most would probably be if I'm like sitting down on a train and then no one sits next to me and it's just like, okay, fine, more space for me. And I just honestly just would not notice it. Like for me, it's like I'm really a blunt person, so for me to like notice or catch on, you have to be like just as blunt and straightforward and just say something like, you know, I hate you, black guy, for me to just be like, oh, okay, this guy's being racist.
Just not wanting to interact with me as a customer, or sometimes things like that, or treating me differently when that maybe that person doesn't believe that I can speak Japanese or understand Japanese. It's been kind of like hurts your self-esteem a little bit, but
how do you feel under those situations?
Usually embarrassed or like, oh, I wish I could fit in a little bit more or adapt better. But other than that, I think it hasn't been anything blatant like in the U.S.
In the U.S., you know, there's a system of oppression, you know, that, you know, oppresses black people, causes them to not be able to have the same opportunities, you know, as other groups in the US, whereas in Japan, there hasn't been this history of, you know, the oppression of black people. So I think in Japan, it's mainly ignorance, and, you know, in both systems, there are, how should I say, there are policies that don't support black people enough. But I think in US, as I said, it's a system, while in Japan, it's just lack of knowledge, or mainly lack of knowledge, I think.
In America, I've had a gun pointed at me by a police officer. In Japan, the police officer like bow before they like ask me to check my bag or something, and they're really nice. Like, "Oh, sumimasen, can we check you?" And like, that's so nice.
In terms of discrimination, how do you deal with them? Do you usually just brush it off, or you confront it, try to fix?
I'm like non-confrontational, so I try to make things smooth, but then after I really think about it and I'm like, I should have done this, I should have done that, and I get annoyed. But again, I'm a teacher, so I have a unique opportunity to take discrimination and things that really annoy me and then tell it to the kids, because they're the future. So I have a chance to shape the future when I tell them, and they listen and they feel it and they're like, oh wow, okay, you know, like we're all the same.
The Olympics Committee recently announced that they are banning athletes wearing the Black Lives Matter apparels, or athletes would get punished if they participate in some sort of political protest. Are you aware of it?
Yeah, so we actually discussed that in my class yesterday. I was dumbfounded when I heard that this is what the Olympic Committee decided to come up with. You know, we see the plight that people are enduring in different countries, and you know, activism has always been one way of not only raising awareness, you know, but garnering support and, you know, making people really aware that, you know, even if you are privileged as a black person, it doesn't take away from the struggle that other black people are, you know, facing. So I think it's necessary, for example, you know, Naomi Osaka and other athletes to be able to express their own experiences. You know, I don't think it's the Olympic Committee's role, you know, or job to tell some black athlete what they can or cannot stand up for or against.
I can kind of understand it because they kind of want to they want to have like sports just be sports. They mostly kind of want to keep it separated between like sports and everything else that goes on in the world. So it's kind of understandable to the point where I can't really like cast any judgment or like have any certain opinion on it, because I kind of see that I just want it to remain sports focused.
Political protest has always been banned at the Olympics, and I can kind of understand that because you have so many countries in one place, or athletes from different countries in one place at the same time. And if there was political protest for multiple countries, it could cause a real mess. What sucks to me is that racial justice is considered a political issue.
Why do you think this is so linked or tied to political perspective?
I think it's because, at least from American perspective, I think it is because of politics. People have this idea that, oh, well, black people all vote Democrat. So all black issues are Democratic issues. And thus, if I'm not a Democrat or if I don't like the Democrats, then I must be against like black, you know, issues in some sort of way, even if they don't think that necessarily. But you have this idea that, well, Black Lives Matter is a liberal thing. Black Lives Matter is a democratic thing. And it's just like, no, Black Lives Matter is a black thing, you know?
Overall, since you've been in Japan for quite some years, do you think the perception towards black people in Japan have changed over time or not so much?
Oh, for sure, it has. Like, when I moved to Japan, like, more than 10 years ago, like, first of all, there weren't so many black people here, so we stood out. For sure, you had to stand out everywhere you go. But right now, there are more foreigners living in Japan. Everywhere you go, like, you don't even get shocked anymore. Like, at some point, I was like, everywhere you go and you find a oh, black person, oh, black person. But right now, like, even though I see a black person, I'm like, yeah, obviously. Yeah, this is Japan now. Many foreigners are here, so yeah.
I mean, just walking down the street and seeing more advertisements with like mixed brown kids or other black people, like I get super excited when I like walk past and see like all that stuff, and I'm like, oh look, yay, like it makes me feel like I could actually buy this product. Yeah. I don't think people understand how important diversity is in marketing and like different things like movies and stuff, because, or like games. And I will say, like, I'm more likely to look into this product or whatever the service is if I see somebody that looks like me, because then I think, oh, okay, I can use this too.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the negative things being black in Japan. Was there any like interesting or positive episodes that you received because you're black in Japan?
I think this happened maybe 2 years ago. So I was wearing like a really bright like orange dress. And this one lady came up to me and she was just like, oh my God, your skin is so gorgeous. Because it was like sun and it was like orange and it just radiated off of me. And I was just like, oh, that's, you never really get compliments from strangers in Japan. So then to have her like really come up and just be like, oh my God, your skin is so gorgeous. And it was like, you know, I felt, you know, pretty nice about that.
I've actually had a lot of good positive experiences, especially with older people, older women specifically. I actually had gone to an onsen a couple months ago. This was like only my second time by myself visiting an onsen, and I was trying to be respectful and understanding and follow the rules. And it was just really awkward for me. But this wonderful lady, like, she comes over and she was so nice to me, and she was like, showed me how to do everything.
Wow.
Yeah, like just selflessly, and like even washed my back, like unasked. I was just like, wow, like this is like one of the first times that I feel like so connected and so grateful to be connected to older people.
Is there something that you hope the Japanese people know about being black in Japan that they're not aware of yet?
We as black people just want to live. We just want to be happy. It just so happens to be here in Japan for me, but it could be in America, it could be in any other country. So don't worry about the outside. Just know that we are all the same. And good people are good people, no matter what they look like.
Just treat us like normal people. And we not all come from Africa or the US. There's a lot of different people. I come from the French West Indies. Nobody knows about this place. We don't eat people. We are usually nice people. So just come and talk to us.